IVM.
Welcome to another week on IVM Podcast. If you're not following us on social media, please do. We're IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram. This week on Cyrus Says, Cyrus talks to restaurateurs Pankaj Shah, Abhishek Hunawar, and Sumit Gambhir of Neighborhood Hospitality. They talk about their past and they talk about their future. They talk a lot more about their future in a new show that we got launching called The Kulaba Cartel. Please make sure that you check that out as well. In a 2-episode special on the Pragati podcast, Pavin and Hamsini are joined by author and legal expert Rahul Mathan to discuss the Sri Krishna report and India's tryst with the concept of privacy. On Shunyavaan this week, we have Vishal Gondal from the Vishal Gondal Show. He takes us through his journey on Goki. And just a quick shout out to all of our listeners. Along with the Kulaba Cartel, we have a whole host of other shows launching this month. So stay tuned to the IVM Podcast app and make sure that you follow all of our new shows as well.
Hi,
You're
listening to IVM
Daily.
Hello and welcome to IVM Daily. I'm Swati and today I'm here to talk about something that has shaken my faith in a concept. But I'm not alone. With me in the studio is Priyanka.
Hi, Swati.
Hi, Priyanka. And I was talking about, something that has shaken my faith in a concept. So the concept basically is of a shelter. A roof which is meant to protect from the brutality of the outer world. But recent reports, Priyanka, you and me are discussing this.
Yeah.
From Muzzafarpur in Bihar have shown us the horrible face of a shelter home where minor girls have been sexually abused.
Right.
So, for the benefit of our listeners, I'll just put this in perspective. I want to make our listeners aware of this unfortunate reality. The report by the social audit, actually, by the Tata Institute of Social Sciences, TIS, was the actual document which exposed the sexual abuse of 34 minor girls at a state-run shelter home in Muzzafarpur. And actually, I spoke to Tarique from TIS team, which actually conducted this audit, and Tarique was the head of that team. And this is what Tarique had to say, Priyanka.
See, what has come out in Muzzafarpur is obviously extremely disturbing and is very unfortunate, and responsibility needs to be fixed. But I think this also gives a strong lesson for all of us. So, when something grave happens and everybody gets up and takes notice, but don't we really see people lying on the streets, people with mental illness, elderly people, just living a miserable life, but it never bothers us. And that is the emotion which is getting, across the, institutions, different stakeholders. Why is it so, when old people are living in old age homes, probably the caretaker there would not mind hitting a person.
So, Priyanka, you heard Tarique. What do you think after listening to him?
Every time there's a setup which makes you a minority of some sort, or where you're vulnerable, because of course when you are given shelter, you're of course you're coming from a humble background, an extremely humble background, and you're not being assertive or being completely righteous is a little dicey, because of course for whatever you've been through, it's just extremely sensitive. So when you're already vulnerable, when other people are taking care of you, and it's like a community home of some sort where everybody is dependent on each other, you don't really have a family of your own there. You just make people who've taken care of you, and then you're vulnerable to them. You are dependent on them. I think that is unfortunately turning out to be such a loophole where people slip in and do really wrong things. And I think in India there's this, in the recent past, even your cybercrime issues say that all of these things, the culprits are people who are sitting right beside you in your home.
Yeah.
And I think, that's what I think even Tarique said, that it's becoming extremely unsafe in your own environment. And for a shelter where you're dependent on, when your core housing for whatever reasons hasn't worked, and then you go to a shelter, or you've been put there because you give them the benefit of doubt that everything will be all right, or at least, till a certain extent, till a certain time period in life, they will be there, and then they can make their own way. But if the foundation is is full of like danger, and like violence, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the numbers were between 36 to 38.
34, I think, are confirmed till now in various reports. 34, yeah.
Yeah, so that's a lot of, and if they've been suppressed till now, it's because they still feel, vulnerable. So it's why do they do this?
And like Tarique was mentioning in his conversation with us, that, until and unless something really big of this sort happens, we do not really care about what is happening around us. And if something like this was happening on such a big scale, was there no one who actually noticed, or was there no one who could actually go and tell the police? Or maybe the entire system is so much ingrained into all these malpractices that we do not have even a single whistleblower coming from such places where a crime of this level is happening. And Tarique was right in saying this, that, until it reaches our own home, we do not care. So it says a lot about us as a society also, that, we are part of something and we are not aware of it. We are not aware of the environment in which we live. We are so, ignorant, or we don't care that who is living around us. And this is not just about cities. I mean, it's the reality of life in general, I think. And that's why something of this kind becomes a news only when to this level, we have to think about this, that 34 minor girls have been raped and sexually injured, and not just exploited but injured. Imagine that level of brutality that we are witnessing now, that is coming out. And this is just a part of the entire picture, because there are 110 shelter homes which this social audit where this social audit was conducted. So this is just a small part of the picture. And imagine this is just one state. What conditions are there in this entire country?
Right.
It's so difficult and disgusting to imagine.
Also, before we know it, it always becomes a part of a nexus, right? So if I'm not mistaken, the guy who runs this NGO is also running
newspaper
press.
Yeah.
So, and he also had some stairway, like a secret stairway that would go into this NGO. And obviously, all this while, when you're running a newspaper, you want to report the truth, you want to report things that are happening. So that also at the same time gave him leeway to control this thing. And if people around him weren't reporting,
the kind of terror or fear that this person, has created. So obviously it has not been done single-handedly by him alone. There is an entire structure of fear or terror which has been created with the help of so many people in power, and that is what is so problematic for us to imagine, that what is going to happen when we do this kind of social audit in this whole country.
Right. I think in our previous conversation, we also spoke about, one of the episodes previously, we spoke about how India is the most
dangerous city for women,
country for women in the world. And, cases like this just support that statement very heartbreakingly. So, and the thing with shelters and the concept of shelters in India is that, okay, one you have is these old age homes, right? Again, the whole idea is to be safe when you're at your most vulnerable. Okay, when you have these orphanages, or when you have even schools, I think there are a lot of cases of how these young kids who are barely 5-6 years old who were victims of sexual harassment. So it's predominantly it's a power play thing, right? Yeah. The minute you see your proximity with someone and an environment which gives you that leeway, that's when this happens. And it's just not okay. It's not okay that you
take advantage
and massively. It's as if this setup was made for you to do this. Obviously, right? So the point, going forward, the point is like what what is like the next call to action?
And
What
it also focuses on the lack of social security system in our country in general, that we do not have a concrete social security system, first of all, and secondly, whatever we have is so dangerous. It's not protecting, it's just violating our right to live as individuals, as human beings.
Right.
And one more point that I wanted to make here is that whatever the media is reporting and whatever the focus is on, we are basically talking about girls only, but it's not only about girls who are suffering. There are boys also.
Yeah, very young boys.
Yeah.
So I would just take like a minute or two to explain an incident that happened in Bombay, I think around 2014.
Okay.
And this was a case that, so I would say I was like a a tip-off person to a report that was going to go out the next day on Mumbai Mirror, and it turned out to be front page there. So I got a call from a friend who told me that, this girl was going for a walk in Versova, and suddenly she hears like a kid like crying really loudly behind a truck or like some shanty or something, and basically she caught like a tea vendor having anal sex with a really young, like a 5-year-old boy, and he was crying, and this girl was down with like her dog, taking him for a walk, and she, at that moment, she dropped everything and she made sure she dragged the culprit to the police station the next day. I was on a train on my way back from office, and when someone is narrating the story to me, I had nothing to say.
Yeah,
and
I have goosebumps at the moment.
Yeah. So, and I contacted like a professor of mine who was a journalism professor, and one of his students was at Mumbai Mirror, and we somehow got the story the next day because, everybody said that, oh, this girl, kudos to her, she did what she did. But these things are not supposed to happen. You're not supposed to make heroes out of, this situation, because this is against humanity. This is not... Again, right? He was a smart kid.
But it's important also to make heroes, I think, to a certain extent, because in such circumstances, if no one is helping you out, that one person who helped you out,
of course, in a situation, because you're vulnerable, right? Again, I'm not able to, as a kid, I don't know where to go, and if that girl missed him,
that kid does not know what is happening
so
to him.
Why
or her.
is it about like being vulnerable? Why is it about being, this? It's just not fair, because these are people either who are really young, or you have so much proximity, you're just catching someone off guard.
Yes. Yeah.
And it can just it's like a clear doorway for a culprit to walk in and do whatever you want. So it's extremely
and I think
sad.
it's a very apt moment for us, this social audit, this entire media focus and attention to these issues. It's a moment for us to introspect as a society, as a whole, that where are we headed actually? This entire digital media and the fuss around development and IT and all those things. But as a society, are we really moving forward? I mean, my basic question is that if we are not able to provide that kind of environment to human beings where they feel safe and protected, and they don't have to fight for their basic livelihood in that sense, I don't think so that these ideas about progress and development, they mean anything for everyone. I mean, they might mean something for a few, for a certain section of people, but for the larger population of this country, it does not mean anything.
Okay, so this was extremely heavy, but we had to bring an input from Mohammed Tarique, who represents TESS and who is leading the report for them. So we thought it's best to have him talk about something like this and just put perspective and context to what is really happening, because every time as I said, every morning we wake up to news like this. So this is it for this episode of IVM Daily. You can get in touch with us on all social media and follow us on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram. We are at IVM Podcasts.
Bye.
Some time ago, 5 successful restaurateurs came together to form the Colaba cartel. The founders of the table, Gauri Devi Dayal and J. Yusuf, partnered with the founders of Woodside Inn, Abhishek Honawar, Pankil Shah and Sumit Gambhir to open a new restaurant in Colaba. If you've ever dreamed of opening a restaurant or love eating out, you want to listen in. The Colaba Cartel. This exclusive 10-part series is hosted by Gauri Devi Dayal and Amit Doshi. Catch new episodes of the Colaba Cartel every Monday and Thursday on the IVM Podcasts app, website, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Hello there, my name is Naveen Narona, and as a gay person in India, I get asked a lot of stupid questions.
Beta, is it LGBT or eligibility?
How do two men procreate?
Bro, is Grindr better than Tinder or what?
We answer all these questions and much more on my podcast, Keeping It Queer, where I talk to individuals from the LGBT community in India and learn about their personal stories. Catch all the episodes on the IVM Podcast app or any other podcasting app you like. Till then, keep it queer.